Hello, grade 11s. Today we are going to be doing more completing the square. Specifically, we're going to be completing the square where the value in front of the x squared is a negative. So I do have with me my handy little set of instructions that we figured out yesterday. Hopefully you made a list that you can follow as well. And we are going to try tackling these questions. So it says complete the square and then state the transformations. So up first we have y equals negative 8x squared plus 80x plus 1. So yesterday when we were completing the square, we developed a list of steps that we can follow when we're doing a question. So the first thing that I said I should do is group together terms that have x's. So that would be the negative 8x squared and the 80x. And then from those two, we are going to factor out the number that's in front of x squared. So that is negative 8. So this is going to be y equals negative 8 times. So I need to divide both parts by negative 8. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 is 1x squared, or I am just going to write x squared. And then 80 divided by negative 8 is negative 10. And that still has an x with it because it was an 80x. And then there's a plus 1 at the end that is patiently going to wait for its turn. All right. So our next step says find two numbers that are the same that add to the middle term. So right now I have two terms inside this bracket, and I would like there to be 3. So I would like to find a way to stretch this out to be x squared minus 10x and then a number. Because eventually I would like to be able to factor this, so I need to have a complete trinomial there to factor. So off to the side, we are going to look for two numbers that are the exact same number that add to the middle term of negative 10. So I'm looking for two things that add to negative 10x, and I did say on my little set of instructions they need to be the same, and I made a little note for myself that a little shortcut here is to divide by 2. So if I take negative 10 and divide that by 2, negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5, so it would be negative 5x and negative 5x. Those would add to negative 10. And then it says multiply those numbers to get the missing number. So negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25, and x times x is x squared. So that means when I was multiplying the first term and the last term, I get 25x squared. The x squared comes from here, so this number here must be the 25. But if I just randomly add a number into my expression, it changes the whole equation. The parabola is not going to look the same anymore. So I can't just add 25. So what we do is we balance it out by subtracting 25. And that actually was the next step. It says add and subtract the missing number in the bracket, which I have done. And then it says multiply the negative out of the bracket. So in here, that negative 25 is there because I can't just randomly add a 25, but I don't want it in the bracket. So we multiply it out of the bracket. The whole reason it's in the bracket is to show that we're multiplying by negative 8. So I'm going to say this is negative 8 times x squared minus 10x plus 25. And then I'm going to multiply negative 25 by negative 8 so that it doesn't need to be in the bracket anymore. So I'm going to do negative 8 times negative 25, and I get positive 200. And I still have the plus 1. All right. That was it for this side. On the other side, I have simplified the numbers outside of the bracket. So that would be the 200 and the 1. So I'm going to collect those terms together. So I get negative 8 times x squared minus 10x plus 25. And then 200 plus 1 is 201. And then my last step says factor the bracket. So I'm going to take x squared minus 10x plus 25, and we are going to factor that. I like to do that off to the side. I find if I try to do it in here, it just gets really complicated with all sorts of brackets. So I'm going to do x squared minus 10x plus 25. We are looking for two terms that multiply to 25x squared and add to 10x. The handy thing is we've already figured all of that out. So I know that it's going to be negative 5x and negative 5x. So this is x squared minus 5x plus 25. Right? We just replaced the negative 10x with two negative 5s. And then I am going to group together the first two and group together the last two and take out whatever they have in common. So the first pair, they both divide by x. X squared divided by x is x. 5x divided by x is negative 5. I always take the sign from the middle, so that's a minus. 5 and 25 both divide by 5. So negative 5x divided by negative 5 is positive 1x, or just x. Positive 25 divided by negative 25 is negative 5. I now notice that these two brackets are the same. That tells me that in my original multiplication question, the second bracket was an x minus 5, and the first bracket would be x minus 5. Now, x minus 5 times x minus 5 is x minus 5 squared. So all we're going to do is replace x squared minus 10x plus 25 with x minus 5 squared. So this is going to be y equals negative 8 times x minus 5 squared plus 201. All right, now it did ask to complete the square, which we've done. This is now in vertex form, but it also asked us to state the transformations. So I am going to see if we can state the transformations here. So in the A position, we have negative 8. The negative means it is a reflection. The 8 is a stretch of 8. Right. Inside the bracket, that's where h is. So our h is negative 5, which would be right 5. And then the 201 is where k would normally be. So that means we are going up 201. All right. I will see you in the next video to do the next example.